We continue the story in Chapter 207 titled The New JAA and 208 titled Domino Effect. Kandaka just smiled while Yatsumura threatened that if Oki moved, he would die. Shin, Heisuki, and Shishiba were troubled by this. Meanwhile, Sakamoto couldn't believe that Kandaka was the one who saved him. Concern was evident on his face, so Kandaka told him to pull himself together. But he replied that he needed to go home because of Lu and Aoi. In Kandaka's thoughts, this was bad because now that the store had been demolished, Sakamoto had lost the will to fight. Meanwhile, Oki couldn't believe that Yatsumura was still alive. He apologized, but said it was a bit late in the game for old farts like them to join. Kandaka called to him, impressed that he had managed to climb the ladder these past years, now being the leader of the order. He replied asking if Kandaka thought he was still his boss. The JAA was at a crucial turning point, so he shouldn't interfere. Nevertheless, Kandaka couldn't believe that he had teamed up with X. He commented that the order has now gone down the toilet. Oki said they couldn't put pride before the survival of the species. That was one of the factors that dragged down the previous regime. But either way, Kandaka answered that their era was coming to an end, so he should quit fighting it. Suddenly, clash occurred when Yatsumura rushed upward, while Kandaka quickly dodged. Yatsumura was surprised when he suddenly disappeared from in front of him. Oki gained momentum to attack again. He said that even after so many years, they never seemed to see eye to eye. "Oh yeah," Kandaka answered, who jumped very quickly from where he was standing. He jumped around to avoid and confuse Oki, who admitted to himself that Kandaka was still the fastest living assassin. Kandaka quickly kicked from behind, which Oki didn't notice, sending him flying far away. Yatsumura joined the fight, using his section staff to attack Oki. However, Oki avoided it by using the blade of his weapon to jump. Due to the intense confrontation, Boiled and the others had difficulty getting close. Meanwhile, Shin took that opportunity and used his ability to freeze Tanabata, who could do nothing but follow him with his eyes, as he escaped carrying Atari. While at the roof, Shishiba asked Oki what they were going to do. He questioned whether they should finish them off now. However, he didn't allow it. At that point, he said it wouldn't be cost-effective. Furthermore, when he looked at his watch, he said they had many other things to do. So, while on the roof, he shouted that they would withdraw for now, but they would settle this soon. Those below were surprised by his decision, and they breathed a sigh of relief because they were saved. The scene shifted to the distribution center where many people were waiting. Chaos ensued as they wanted to get the guns mentioned by X in the broadcast. There was pushing and shoving, causing tensions to rise, and some even threatened to kill one another. Inside, the woman in charge of distribution said these were biometric guns. When she handed them to the claimants, she reminded them that they only had 3 shots, and they couldn't shoot within 100 meters of the JAA HQ. After getting a gun, one person named his gun Hades. Shin and the others could be seen running hurriedly when they realized that the distribution of guns had begun. Someone said to forget about that for now because they needed to hurry. They were very close to the store. Concern was evident on Sakamoto's face as he thought about his wife Aoi and Lu who were left there. He stopped in his tracks when they finally reached their house and saw that the entire building was completely destroyed. Shin couldn't accept this either, and all of them couldn't believe what had happened. However, someone suddenly called out "Sweetie," which puzzled Sakamoto. It was Aoi who was happy to see him again. Sakamoto was shocked to see that Aoi and Lu were alive, so he quickly embraced his wife. Shin told Lu that he was extremely happy that she was okay. Lu replied that it was thanks to their boss. Apparently, he had set up that place with extra security just in case. Flashback to when a man entered their store and Aoi welcomed him. The CCTV on the side detected something which triggered the floor beneath them to suddenly open. Lu and Aoi hadn't expected this mechanism. Back to the present, Aoi explained that the area under the shop was connected to a safe room that was extremely comfortable. Shin praised their boss for the precaution he had taken. Meanwhile, Atari was just lying on the couch, sleeping. Kandaka approached Sakamoto and said that his family was safe, but he questioned why he didn't seem happy. He was still in shock from the video he had seen earlier. He just covered his mouth before suddenly kneeling due to what happened. Everyone was concerned for him. Because of this, Yatsumura said that it was bad news. Sakamoto was in severe shock because he had believed that his family was gone. even if it was just briefly. Sometimes, he said, noobs who don't fit into the assassin life experience such trauma. That's what happens when they spend too much time in normie land. And he had seen many assassins retire because of situations like this. Shin couldn't believe what was happening to his boss. Sakamoto just stared blankly while sweating nervously. The scene shifted to X, who had a knife pointed at himself. He was talking to Ryan's persona, who he knew was extremely pissed right now. So, X apologized to her. Just then, someone reported that the group they were waiting for had arrived. This referred to Oki along with other members of the New Order. X mentioned they took a long time, to which Oki replied that they just had something to take care of. On the side, Akira was worried because the situation was getting worse and worse. There was no way to stop those people anymore. She wondered what she could do for her Aunt Ryan. Meanwhile, Kanaguri greeted Shishiba, saying he didn't expect him to side with them. He answered that they needed to make smart choices in this world. It's not like he was there to be a hero. Kumanomi was annoyed and commented how pathetic it was. She couldn't accept that they had to team up with those losers. Shishiba told her to be friendly. Moreover, he asked what was with her goofy arm. This ticked off Kumanomi, so she gained momentum to attack, which Osaragi quickly blocked. Kumanomi didn't expect this, while Torres intervened and obstructed Osaragi. He said that was enough. Akira grabbed Kumanomi and told her to take it easy. But Kumanomi replied that Shishiba started it first. Osaragi's buzzsaw quickly flew, targeting her head. Because of this, Kumanomi's hair was cut and became even shorter. When she touched it, Kumanomi couldn't believe it, and Torres and Shishiba's eyes widened as well. Akira was trying hard to restrain Kumanomi from attacking, who said they were on pause. Meanwhile, Osaragi just told Shishiba that she didn't like her. Oki suddenly spoke and told everyone to stop it. He announced that they should celebrate, as this was the birth of the strongest group of assassins in history. X said they would eradicate every person who stood in their way. For the New Order.
Hello, Daddy? Hello, Daddy? Hello, Daddy? Hello, Daddy?
The scene showed a woman sitting quietly on a train. A new passenger sat next to her. Because he pressed against her and squeezed close to her, the woman got triggered. She said there was plenty of space, but he chose to press against women every day. So she called him a disgusting pig. Suddenly, she pointed a gun at his forehead and shot him. This was the first day that citizens were allowed to bear arms. The first shooting occurred at exactly 1:40 in the afternoon. On the road, while driving, they noticed the car in front of them switching lanes repeatedly. The driver couldn't believe it was that road rage driver again and called him a menace. He was annoyed because there were apparently children walking in the area. The man sitting next to him asked when that person would be arrested because this wasn't the first time they had encountered him. In extreme frustration, he got out of the car. He said if the police weren't going to do anything, then he would take action. He went to the side of the car and shot the driver. Meanwhile, at the Social Security office, an office worker was assisting someone who was demanding money. The person said that he was completely fed up and that they should be serving citizens. He added that inflation was killing him. The worker responded to Mr. Kasoda that his income was sufficient. He apologized but thought the issue was his gambling addiction, not inflation. Kasoda couldn't believe his response and asked if he was saying he deserved to die. Indeed, answered the worker as he pulled out his gun to target his forehead. After shooting him, he said that because of trash like him, people who truly needed help were being demonized. By day 3 of allowing everyone to bear arms, nearly 0.25% of citizens had already used a bullet. The death toll had reached 324,000. However, there was reportedly a 90% drop in petty crimes compared to the same day last year. On top of a building overlooking a vast area, X and others could be seen monitoring the death count. According to X, when you shoot someone for the first time, the first shot is a heavy decision, and it requires significant justification. The scene returned to the Social Security Division where a coworker asked the person who had just fired the shot what they had done. He replied that the victim was a total scumbag who shamelessly abused the system. His colleague responded that whether he was a scumbag or not wasn't the issue. He had killed a person, but he answered that it was legal to use the 3 shots they each had however they wanted, and that the government permitted it. But his colleague found it despicable and said resorting to violence was a disgrace. This seemed to irritate the shooter. Back to X, who explained that pulling the trigger becomes easier the second time. And indeed it was true, because the office worker who had just shot someone suddenly shot his colleague in the forehead for criticizing him. X explained that after the first shot, the threshold for killing becomes significantly lower. The taboo lifts, and even trivial matters can serve as triggers. And in the end, there's no going back. Back at the office, the colleague of the office worker was now lying on the floor, bloody. He was convinced that he hadn't done anything wrong since it was perfectly legal. People think that because it's legalized, there's no guilt in doing it. X added that it's very easy to destroy the moral compass. And once a critical mass of people crosses the line, their acts of violence justify others following suit. Again, at the Social Security office, another woman pulled out her gun and targeted the man who had killed earlier. And because of what he did, she shot him. As a result, the casualty count rose once more. Because of this, the domino effect was kicking in. Akira was troubled by this. She just stared at the counter, unable to believe how many people had died by now. X said that was right. But in Akira's mind, she couldn't accept that when people are given power, they become that brutal. He quickly rushed toward X, who was just sitting, but Kuminomi stopped her, asking what she thought she was doing. Nevertheless, she quickly lifted and threw Kuminomi to the floor. And when the person restraining her was down, Akira went straight to X and held a blade to his neck. She asked why X had gone to such lengths just to provoke people to become violent. She wondered what did he want to happen. To which X answered that it was just payback for the dirty work they were forced to do. The scene suddenly shifted to a large JCC building. Torimaru was shown focused on her phone. She said what was happening wasn't funny anymore. She wondered what had happened to the JAA. Japan now seemed like a total dumpster, according to her. This was spreading all over social media. Mafuyu suddenly told her to shut up. This meant that the Order and X were now working together. He couldn't believe what was happening. Kaji responded that apparently, the JCC was separating from the JAA, and they didn't know how long they would remain safe there. Amane said he had no idea that X was that deranged. He asked how many people would die now. According to Natsuki, it was surely game over for Japan. He had run an AI simulation, and within a week, it showed that 9% of the population dead. They said it only needed 10% for the country to collapse. Torimaru wondered how many people 9% of the entire population was, and Amane answered that it was about 10.8 million. Natsuki thought deeply about why this was happening. If X had a grudge against people, why didn't he just kill them himself? He wondered what X was trying to achieve. Suddenly, someone rushed into their room and called for Natsuki. He said the you-know-what had arrived. He showed and delivered a box, and because of this, Natsuki thanked him, while Torimaru and the others became curious. When he opened the box, it contained a gun. Everyone was curious about it, and Torimaru asked if this was what was being distributed to people. Amane thought it was just an ordinary Glock. Meanwhile, Kaji was surprised that it could be ordered via mail. Natsuki responded that there was a lot of paperwork involved and the process was somewhat troublesome. Mafuyu then noticed an accompanying booklet inside with instructions on the proper stance for shooting. Torimaru was curious about why he ordered it, but Natsuki didn't answer. He was focused on observing and inspecting the gun. He was impressed by the gun's biorecognition system. Suddenly, he fired it and used the 3 bullets, which startled them. Torimaru was frightened by his sudden use of it, but Natsuki just stared at the gun after using it and noticed that it locked after 3 shots. He seemed to realize something and noticed that the gun was a bit heavy. Torimaru couldn't believe it because when she compared it to their school-issued gun, it seemed the same. It looked like just a regular Glock. Nevertheless, Natsuki disassembled each part down to the smallest component. And after that, he found the extra weight he had felt. They couldn't believe he had felt it since the part he retrieved was extremely light. It was only about 1 gram or 2. Natsuki's colleague explained that he spent every day there making thousands of weapons. That's why he knew exactly how heavy things should be. Because of it, Torimaru wasn't surprised that he was the top student in the weapons manufacturing department, and even Amane was impressed. Mafuyu asked his brother what the deal was with that. Natsuki carefully observed the object he had found and realized what it was. It was a remote control module. Because of that IC chip, the JAA could fully control the gun. It could track location, register fired bullets, and lock specific guns. Torimaru asked about the remote control feature, and Mafuyu was curious about what that meant. But Amane seemed to have figured it out. He and Natsuki were thinking the same thing. Because of that feature, they might still be able to stop that act of terrorism. Everyone was shocked by this revelation. He added that they really absolutely need to stop it. Torimaru then spoke to Mafuyu, saying how hot his brother was, causing him to tell her to shut up.